Well, hello, challengees, and welcome to the Always Better Challenge Show, the show that helps you take steps today that lead to being better and happier tomorrow. I'm Joe Bedford, your host. I hope you're having a great day. And as always, we're going to start off with a motivational, inspirational, exciting quote, which is also going to serve as the introduction of our topic today. Today's quote comes from Zig Ziglar, one of my huge mentors and role models and inspirations. And Zig said, "What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals." So great words of wisdom from the late, great Zig Ziglar. And our topic for today is goals and goal setting. And again, this is a theme that I'm revisiting from past episodes. And this is the idea of taking a step back and looking at things from the big picture view, the 20,000 foot view, as it were. And this is very helpful in goal setting. This is what we're doing. Rather than, working in the trenches, we're taking a moment to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, look at the big things that we want to achieve and the direction that we want to take, or the directions with our life and with our career and with everything in our life. So setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. And this is just a very important point that I want to make, that goal setting is the first step in reaching and achieving the things that may look difficult at first, but let's take a step back and let's formulate a plan to get there. So what makes a good goal? Well, first of all, I want to be clear what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a formal goal. I'm not talking about a sort of a idea or just something that we're kind of thinking about, something that's vague. We want this to be a formal goal. We want this to be something that we're going to commit to. I am going to highly recommend that you write this goal down. And by write, I encourage you to use a pen and paper, not typing it on a keyboard. You can type it on a keyboard if you have to, but I think there is really something about writing it that helps to imprint it a little firmer in our mind. I know some folks might not commit to this, but something that I would even encourage you to do is to start each day by writing down your goals on paper, rewriting them. Again, just to program them even further into your brain. This is a very good thing to do first thing in the morning, as we've talked about in previous episodes, the idea of starting the day off right, that miracle morning, that golden hour. What better way than to start each and every day by focusing on your goals every single day? And as I say, there's just something about, thinking about them is good, but writing them on paper, I don't think, overemphasize how valuable that can be in really imprinting these goals in our mind. I like the idea of stating our goals in the present tense. Now, what I mean by this is, in other words, we're not going to say, I want to achieve, or I want to reach, or I want to do. We're going to state them as if we already have them. So, if it's a financial goal, we're going to say, I earn $100,000 per year, or whatever your goal is. Or if we're talking about a health goal, for example, a weight goal, I weigh 175 pounds. Not I'm going to, or I want to, or I hope to. We state it in the present tense. Now, you may say that this sounds a little silly, or maybe even sounds a little dishonest because, no, I don't. It's not in the present tense yet. But again, there's just something about stating it in the present tense. My opinion is that this sort of programs it into our unconscious or subconscious, whatever word you want to use there. And that's why I like doing this. It just makes it more real somehow and makes it believable to our mind. So that's just a little trick, if you want to call it that I use and that I believe is very helpful, is to state these in the present tense. Really helps us to stay focused on these. So how about what categories do we want to, in our life, do we want to set goals in? Well, obviously it's limitless and up to you. So a few that I'll suggest or just throw out there as areas that you might want to set goals in are physical, family goals. How about attitude goals? I like that one. Career goals, financial goals, education or learning goals. How about artistic or creative goals? How about public service goals, service to others? How about happiness, or if a word that I like that's even more, a little more emphatic, joy? How about setting some goals for joy? I like the idea of all of those. So hopefully that gets you thinking, gives you some ideas, and encourages you. Any of those goals, that there are areas you want to achieve more in. I can't stress enough, to me, the importance, I maybe should have said it first, family goals, relationship goals, friendship goals. There's nothing more important, in my opinion. It arguably sets the foundation for all the rest. If there's one thing I've learned in almost 50 years of living, it's that the relationships that I have are by far, the most important thing in my life, the most important component of happiness in life. Without that, you don't have much. I think when I was doing my notes, I think I did put physical first, just because your health, and I said this in the episode where I talked about health and nutrition and exercise. If you don't have your health, you can't even, it makes it harder to achieve those family and relationship goals if you don't have health. So we're not going to argue about which one of those is most important. They're both very important. So, what is the best method for setting goals? I'm going to give you my opinion. This may be something you've heard before. This is certainly not an idea that I came up with. But the idea of SMART goals. And by SMART, we mean the word SMART, but it's also an acronym, S-M-A-R-T. And so, of course, we're going to go through what that stands for. I have heard some different, definitions of SMART goals. In other words, some disagreement over what the letters actually do stand for. There's a few different things they could stand for. I'm going to give you my interpretation or what I think fits best there, and what I think each one of those means. There also, we could argue that there is some overlap in these different components. Hopefully that will make more sense as I go. So, S-M-A-R-T. The S stands for specific. We want to set a very specific goal. Excuse me, I think I've already mentioned that previously in the episode. Vague goals lead to a vague path. If you're not exactly sure where you're going, how in the world are you going to get there? Even more importantly, how are you going to know when you do get there? You're not. So you want to set a very specific goal. If you were going on a trip, you wouldn't say, oh, well, I think I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive to, Colorado. You'd have a more specific destination in mind so that you could head straight there and so that you would know when you get there. And so again, with our goals, that's the exact same thing that we want to do. We want to be very specific as we can possibly be about what it is that we're trying to achieve, where it is that we want to go. So an example, again, just to go back to the health example that I mentioned before, if you want to lose weight, don't say, I want to lose weight. How much weight do you want to lose? 10 pounds, whatever it is, be very specific with it. If you're going for an increase in income, well, I want to, increase it by this much. We'll probably talk about this a little more as we go through the different components of SMART goal setting. I can hear some of you thinking, well, but you talked about the importance of relationship goals. How can I be specific about relationship goals? Well, again, we may touch on that a little bit more later, but just the idea of, well, you're going to be specific about what actions you want to do. In other words, think about, things that are going to make your relationships better, that are going to make you a better person in those relationships. And so decide what are the specific changes that I can make, and specific as far as, and how will we know when we've gotten there. So you can do that with these other areas of goal setting, which might seem a little bit more subjective, and they are, but we still want to be as specific as we can be in setting those goals. So the M in SMART stands for measurable. We could argue that this is really another part of specific. As I said, there is some overlap with these arguably. But we want to measure our goal. This enables us to do a few things. First of all, it enables us to get the idea of how far away we are from our goal. This also gives us the ability to set micro goals along the way. Stepping stones, however you want to look at that. So we've got our ultimate goal, but we can, measure our progress along the line. Again, just going back to the obvious examples where it's easy with numbers like weight or income. You can say, well, yeah, my ultimate goal is to get to 25 pounds lost, but I can lose 5 pounds, 10, 15, 20. Same with your income goal. I want to increase by 10,000, whatever. So we can set those micro goals, and we've got a metric that we're measuring our increase in achievement by. So that is very helpful and very important in setting these goals. The other nice thing about the micro goals and about knowing how far away we are is that we can see our progress. So, the old cliched saying, it's not a journey, it's a destination. This helps us to enjoy the destination. There is nothing like being able to see our progress, even though we're not at our ultimate goal yet. But if we can see the progress, that's going to give us confidence, that's going to give us motivation, and that's going to keep us going down that track. And so that is very, 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 very helpful. Also, the idea of micro goals, I've maybe heard the phrase or the suggestion, when you're trying to achieve a goal, chunk it down, take it one bite at a time. One of my, me in the quotes, I love the quotes, maybe it's a riddle, maybe it's a joke. If you have to eat an elephant, what is the best way to do it? Well, one bite at a time. So the same goes with our goals, where, if we can just chunk them down and just take it one step at a time, one bite at a time, one step at a time. That keeps us from being overwhelmed by, this big goal where we just take one step, one step, one step. I use the football analogy a lot. I want to keep moving the ball down the field. It doesn't matter if it's a touchdown every play or whatever. As long as that ball is moving down the field, that's what keeps me going, and that's what keeps me motivated. So, measurable goals. Excuse me. Our next one, the definition I like here is attainable. And I have mixed feelings with this one because on the one hand, I want you to challenge your ideas of what you think is attainable or realistic. Because as I've said in previous episodes, you can achieve most anything if you want it bad enough and set your mind to it and create a plan to get you there. Yeah, you might not be able to play in the NBA, but you can set a very lofty goal as far as your basketball skills or anything else you want to in life, in my opinion. So I challenge you to challenge your own assumptions of what is possible, the stories that you tell yourself about what is realistic or what is attainable. Another thing I want to say about attainable, which might be more helpful and which I have no problems in suggesting, you want to make sure that your time frame is reasonably attainable. You don't want to be ridiculous there. So again, an example, going back again to the losing weight example. If you want to lose 50 pounds, you don't want to say, well, I want to lose 50 pounds in a week or even in a month. That is not a realistic, attainable goal. You're setting yourself up for failure there. You want to lose, maybe 1 to 2 pounds a week, and so calculate that out and set your time frame that way. So do make sure your time frame is realistic. We'll talk about that a little bit more on one of the next steps, which is going to tie in very well with that. So attainable. Another thing about attainable, and I briefly touched on this when we were talking about relationship goals. Do your best, if it makes sense, to base your goal on, on activities or on performance rather than on an outcome. In other words, if the outcome is not 100% in your control, then you want to try to make the goal as much about the activities that are going to make that goal possible than the outcome itself, if that makes sense. And that might sound a little contradictory based on what I've said before, and I don't know, maybe it is. But I hope you get the point that I'm trying to make here. You don't want to set yourself up for failure by setting a goal and you do everything perfectly and that goal doesn't happen because it's something that's not entirely in your control. So, and I think of that too, like I talked about before with the relationship goals. A relationship is two people. You don't have 100% control over how good that relationship is. But what part of it can you have control over? What specific activities can you do? And what self-improvement goal can you reach for as a person, as an individual, which is under your control? And so that's what I mean when I say attainable. And so I do hope that makes sense. Our next letter is R. And for me, I like the R to stand for relevant. We want our goal to be relevant. Now, what do I mean by relevant? What I mean is, and this is very simple, and I don't think I'm going to have too much to say about this, we just want to make sure that our goals support our projects, our larger projects, and maybe even a better way of saying it, we want to make sure that they support our purpose or our mission. Again, that big picture view. So you could almost think of, goals are here and projects are, well, as I'm saying that, maybe we could argue about which goes where in the hierarchy. But again, I hope you get my point, is maybe mission is a better way of saying it. We want goals that support the overall mission that we have for our lives. The ultimate, answer to that. If you want to talk about taking the step way back and looking at the big picture, the biggest picture, what do I want to do with my life? That's a big picture. That's definitely a 20,000 foot vantage point. So we want to set goals that are relevant to our overarching mission, what's really big and important to us. So relevant. And the T in SMART, and I teased on this briefly before, T stands for time bound. We want to have we'll call it a time limit or a deadline on achieving our goal. It has been proven to my satisfaction that deadlines are drivers. They spur us on to achieve more than we would without that deadline. You may have heard the quote, again, not me with the quotes, that a goal is nothing more than a dream with a deadline. So, to me, that says the point. We want them to be time bound. But now, so what happens if you set a deadline and you've done your best to create a realistic, attainable deadline and you miss it? What do? Do you throw up your hands and say you're a failure? No, of course you don't. You do change the deadline. Yes, you are allowed to do that. You want to make your best guess up front. You want to make a realistic guess up front. But it is a guess. It is an estimate. You have no way of knowing. Again, going back to where we talked about measurable, you can certainly measure your progress along the way. Maybe you even adjust the goal, the time frame then, because maybe you have a better idea after moving towards the goal. You're saying, okay, I see how long this is taking, and I now have a better idea and more information to make an accurate deadline. Another theme that I brought up in past episodes, yes, you probably are detecting a theme with me, and that I revisit the same themes over and over because they're the sort of foundational elements of my ideas. And the idea here that I've mentioned before is that we're experimenting. We're always experimenting. We're trying things. We are seeing how it goes, and we are learning and gaining information from those experiments. So that's the mindset that I want you to approach these goals and specifically these deadlines with. It's an experiment. It's a guess. Don't throw yourself under the bus if you miss a deadline. You've got more information now to make an even better and more accurate deadline prediction. So that's it on the time bound. So what other advice do I have on goal setting? Well, don't don't work on too many goals at once. And I would imagine that that makes sense when I say that, and that you can understand why that is. We want to avoid overwhelm. Excuse me. And also, we want to be so focused on these goals. We want to bring everything we have to bear and have a laser-like focus on moving our goals forward. If I go back to the football analogy for a moment, or to mixed metaphors perhaps, it's one thing to move the ball down the field. It's another thing to try and move 50 balls down the field at the same time. So you don't want to do that. So, and of course, you can be sequential with your goals. You can work on this goal now, and you'll work on another goal later. So don't work on too many at once. I don't know that I have the answer of what is the perfect number of big goals to work on at once. Sort of my gut feeling on that is 2 or 3. That's my gut feeling. I think that's a pretty good number. You could probably do more than that if you needed to or wanted to, or felt like that was right for you. And heck, you could certainly work on one at a time. You want to talk about laser-like focus, so that would be laser-like focus. But yeah, don't try too many at once. It's just your efforts are going to be divided and muddled, and it's going to be hard to see progress, and just lots of reasons. So focus on a few key goals at any given time. Another tip I want to give, and we've talked about before, I've talked about in previous episodes about how my organization ideas and whatnot, and that you always want to work from a list. And so one of the lists that you're going to work from is a to-do list. That's your daily to-do list. And I work from one of those every single day of my life. I wouldn't get this show done if I didn't have a daily to-do. This wasn't on my daily to-do list, because that's what I work from. So with your goals, which is the 20,000 foot view, when you get down to your to-do list, which is the ground level view, you want to make sure your to-do list reflects your goals. So in other words, the things on your to-do list, for the most part, should be things that are moving your goals forward. Now, I understand that it's not going to be possible for everything on your to-do list to be that. We all have things that may not be moving us towards our ultimate goals, but we still got to take the garbage out, right? So things like that. And I'm going to share just a funny little thing with you. I don't know if this is going to be beneficial to anybody but me. And I stole this idea from somebody, and I wish I could remember who. I want to say it was Darren Hardy. I'm going to give him credit for it. I've got because I break my to-do list down into categories, because, just going back to what I just said, I'm trying to make sure they're tied to my goals. So I've got a few categories on my to-do list that relate to different goals that I have. I've got another category on there which is for the stuff that isn't really moving me towards goals but has to be done anyway. And the name that I gave for that category is, I call it the Devil's Vortex. So I hope you get a kick out of that. Feel free to use that. I just find that motivating, just to remind me that, maybe I got to do this, but first of all, if it's not of critical, time-bound importance, I'd sure rather be working on my goals than working on that. And also knowing that if I am working on it, I think that motivates me to just be very efficient and to get it done as quickly as I can, so I can get back to the important work of moving my footballs down the field, moving my goals forward. So I just thought I'd share that little phrase with you. Every time I see it on my to-do list, I get a little giggle out of it, so it's good for that, if nothing else. The Devil's Vortex, try to avoid it. Remember to check your progress at regular intervals. I've already sort of talked about this previously, where we were talking about, the advantage of having it a measurable goal, and the sub goals and the micro goals, and checking your progress along the way. Make sure you do that. Don't forget that step. Again, I don't know if there's a magic time frame that's best for those check-ins. I usually like to do it once a week. I just think once a week is a good, and again, I'm repeating myself to an extent, I think that's a good time to take a step back, look at the big picture once a week. So check in on your goals. How am I doing on this goal? What did I do this week that worked well and is getting me closer to my goals? What didn't work so well? What can I do better? What can I learn? All those types of questions. And then again, also just confirming, am I where I thought I'd be? Or what adjustments or pivots do I need to make to keep moving the ball down the field? So remember to check in probably about once a week, but at whatever interval you decide, works the best for you. Another tip is to make sure your goals are positive, are stated in a positive way. And I've talked about this again on previous episodes, the idea of keep your eyes on the road, don't look at the guardrail. Keep your eye on your goals, don't look at the obstacles. So state your goals in a positive way. I mean, state what you want, don't state what you don't want, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to think of how to state that in an example. Like, if you're trying to make more money, I mean, this is just a ridiculous example, but I don't know how else to say it. You wouldn't set the goal of, I'm tired of being poor, I want to be less poor. You say, no, I want to have more abundance and, be able to do more things with good things with my money. So you want to state them in a positive way. And I've already said, but just to repeat, highly encourage you to state them in the present tense as if you've already achieved them. That just, again, plants that belief in your mind that you will achieve them. So that's about all I have to say. As always, I do like to try to share some tools and resources with you that I think can help you in your goal setting. The first one I'm going to mention is a website. It's goalbuddy.com. I will link that up below the video in the show notes. I will, just in case you missed that, I will state, because it's a funny website, it's goal-buddy.com. I like this site for the accountability and for the social aspect, the encouragement aspect, because that's the idea. You're going to have goal buddies. You're going to encourage them. They're going to encourage you. I like that aspect of it. So you feel like you're not in it alone, and someone is interested in your progress, following your progress, and maybe assisting you in your progress, and you're doing the same for them. Great idea. Another website that I'm going to mention, and even though this might sound like, favoritism on my part because of the name, but there's a website called Joe's Goals at joesgoals.com. No, I'm not the Joe. It's not my website. But this is a cool website, and it's insanely simple. And I want to give credit to this idea to Jerry Seinfeld. I believe that's who I heard it mentioned with. And he was talking about the importance of, if you have something that's important to you, you want to work on it every single day. And so that is really the only thing that Joe's Goals is trying to get you to do, is a chain of working on something every single day or doing something every single day. So each day you do that thing, you get to put a little check in the little box for that day. And then each day, of course, you add a check, and then you've got a chain. And a lot of folks, myself included, just find that motivating, the idea of, I don't want to break the chain. I've got the momentum. I've been doing it. I don't want to mess it up. So very simple. That's the main thing that website does, is help you establish a chain. And it'll let you do it for multiple goals or just things you want to do each day. So joesgoals.com. I'm going to include another link in the show notes below. This is a long link, so you probably just want to go there. But it's just a web page that gives several different resources. I'll go ahead and read the website here just because it is managementcenter.org/resources/goal-setting-resources. So obviously you probably just want to click below, but I'll link that up down there for you too, because I thought that was it just gave lots of different resources that might be helpful. How about tools? I'm going to suggest a couple of tools to you that I've used at different times in my life. I'll mention the first one first, because the second one you're going to laugh at. But the first one is just a simple whiteboard. You can use that in so many ways, or a bulletin board works too. That's actually what I'm using more myself right now, is a bulletin board, and I've called it different things, sort of my affirmation board. And it might look weird to somebody else, but it doesn't matter. It's my tool, and it's for me, and it helps me. If you came over to my house and saw it, I may actually even take a picture and try and link it up on the website or something so you can see my motivation board. Because it's just pictures mostly. It's different things, but a lot of it is just pictures. But it's pictures that represent for me that goal and what I'm trying to reach for and achieve. So, like I say, that might be a fun thing to take a picture of and share so that you can see what I use. But a whiteboard too, where you can write goals, quotes. I mean anything that's going to help you, and it's in your face. It's on that. It's on that whiteboard staring you in the face. So that goes to my second tool, which you might giggle at a little bit. Giant Post-it notes, like the biggest ones you can get, because you can stick those everywhere. And again, just to maybe put motivation, like a little bullet point or anything like that you want that's going to be just in your face and just constantly reminding you and motivating you to stay excited about that goal and keep working on that goal. So you can brainstorm their uses for that, but those are my two tools, the whiteboard and the big Post-it notes. So, as always, this is the daily challenge, or the Always Better Challenge show. So, yes, I want to challenge you. I hope I've been doing that enough in the past episodes. I was thinking about that today, that I don't want to lose that part of the show. I want to challenge you. I want to push you. I want to encourage you. This show is for people that want to make their lives better. And you can do that. And so I want to maybe gently, see, I'm already backing off. I want to gently shove you, but I do. I want to challenge you. I want to prod you to reach for that better life, because that's the biggest part of it. You got to reach. You got to try. So my challenge for you, no surprise, is I want you to set at least one SMART goal. Use the techniques that I've mentioned above and set one specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goal in your life. So that's it. That's it for the show today. Please subscribe to the show already. Subscribe. You know you want to. It's free. You can do it down there. In a minute, my little face and my thumb is going to come. You can click there. Just do it. Come on. It's free. Also, sign up for our daily booster emails. This is a free motivational email. I send those out each weekday. I include a quote. You know me and the quotes. And I've also started including a thought for the day. So just a little few sentences on something to think about that day that I hope will motivate and inspire you and help you to have a better life tomorrow than today. So did I say? The website is, I'm going to give you the short version. You can now use abetterchallenge.com or alwaysbetterchallenge.com, but A is less typing. So sign up for the emails. They're free. Free. I'm offering you free stuff. All you have to do is take it from me. Keep your questions, comments, suggestions coming. Join our Facebook group if you'd like to. That's it for the show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. Thank you so much for watching. This is Joe Bedford, the host of the Always Better Challenge, reminding you to go out there and make it happen. Bye-bye.